And here we are. Welcome to another great panel. This one we're talking about a subject that everybody loves, which is drones and flying cars. And we have some really novel approaches to this that we're going to be talking about. I think you're really going to learn something on this panel. You know, one of the things about drones is that we're hearing about new uses for them every day. And yesterday I heard about a really great use of drones, which is basically planting trees with them. And they can deliver something like 53,000 trees, plant that many trees in one day, way more than people can actually do. And they can do this in very inaccessible areas. And there's a couple companies that are doing this biocarbon engineering and drone seed. So you probably hear more about drones doing this very useful activity because every year we lose many, many trees. So let's get started. We're going to go right in with Hide. And they've done the very first drone deliveries in Japan. And he's going to tell you all about that.
Okay. Hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Hide, and I work for Rakuten. Rakuten is the biggest e-commerce company, like Alibaba of China. Then we provide a lot of IT services like Viber and eBay in the United States. So we did very first drone delivery to the general public at golf course. So we prepared a video about it. So please watch the video. Hopefully it counts. Okay, so golfers make an order on smartphone application, and they can order hamburger or golf ball, and the staff at the depot will pack, then put it on drone. Then staff just press the button to take off, and it will automatically take off, and people do not need to control. It's really autonomous. So it goes to the destination using GPS and land precisely by using image recognition. So this is the real flight for our golf delivery service. Everybody uses smartphone to take photos and movies whenever they get things from the sky. So they are very excited. So it uses the image recognition to land precisely, and the box will be released like this. Then it's easy technology, and it flies away automatically. So no human involved. It's totally autonomous. Then the box has the name of the customer, and he can pick it up once drone is away. And you know, for this time, they ordered a lot of drinks. So first, it's canned coffee, and that's Minute Maid, you know, orange juice, and another orange juice. It's really cold because drone will deliver within 10 minutes, and sport drink, and this guy got a snack. So this was the real thing. We did it for 1 month, and it was very well received, and we delivered more than 100 times. So I hope this can be done in the United States as well. So if you are interested, please let me know. Thank you.
Hide, I think you told me the most common thing people ordered was beer.
Yes, right. So beer was super popular, and everybody just ordered 4 cans of beer. And because of the payload limitation, it must be within 2 kilograms. So 4 or 5 cans of beer was kind of maximum.
We're going to move on to Rodin from A Cubed, and they're doing fascinating stuff. They may have a airplane that they're testing, which is going to do autopiloted drone flights carrying human cargo. You'll be able to go up in your own drone, and it will, instead of you having to pilot it, it will autopilot to your destination. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of our projects at A-Cubed is called Vahana, and it's an electric vertical takeoff and landing automated, essentially air taxi. And we are building it today, and it's going to fly this year. The prototype's going to fly this year, most likely without a human, and we plan on moving to certification afterwards to have a product by 2020.
Use dogs like the Soviets did with their
We are not going to use dogs. Our test program is going to be unmanned. and it's going to be in designated test ranges in the US, but we are also looking at deployment for cargo delivery before it's certified for autonomous human flight. And we're also in parallel tackling a few other questions about ground operations and about airspace management with separate projects.
When do you think you'll do the first human flights, or people will be taken?
Per our schedule, we plan on a vehicle that's certified for human flight sometime around 2020.
It's amazing how fast the technology is working in drones.
Yeah, I mean the technology. We don't like to call it a drone because if you look at the industry, we've had autonomous flight and very highly automated flight for a very long time. I think the current crop of commercial drones is leveraging that technology at a particular level of reliability and safety. But we've had very reliable autonomy in flight for decades, and really this is just filling the gap.
Now, I noticed that Elon Musk yesterday was quoted in an interview as saying, it's difficult to imagine the flying car becoming a scalable solution. But it sounds like what you're targeting takes human error out of the equation. You wouldn't call
That's
it
correct.
a flying car, I don't think, what you're doing.
Right now we're sticking with air taxi. Sure. But if the question is about scalability, there is a limit to how many vehicles you can safely operate in the airspace. But the truth is that today, the airspace is not really being utilized. It's vastly underutilized.
Well, I think that brings us to Ben Marcus from Airmap, and we're going to talk about really patrolling that airspace, because that's what your company does. And I wanted to point out that Airmap and Rakuten are involved in a pilot project in Japan. They're working together.
Yeah, that's right. Rakuten and Airmap have a joint venture in Japan to provide airspace management services in that country, and we're very pleased with our partnership with Rakuten. But yeah, Airmap is an airspace management platform for drones, and ultimately, if you think about any use case in the airspace, whether that be with people on board or not, that vehicle needs to be able to navigate safely and efficiently, taking account of all kinds of context, not just traffic, but also regulations, and a lot of these are very hyper-local, obstacles, real-time weather, and you take all of this data, you put a routing engine on top, and ultimately you can deliver a safe and efficient route for that vehicle to operate along. And that's what Airmap's all about. If you think about the traditional air traffic control system that we take for granted today for airliners, for example, here in the United States, there's about 50,000 flights per day. There are 15,000 air traffic controllers. Clearly that does not scale to millions of drones operating billions of flights. Airmap today, still a very young company. The drone industry is still being a very young industry. We're already managing or providing services for more than 50,000 flights per day, and we only have 50 employees. So we need a much bigger, more scalable system, and it needs to be able to take account of much more complex context that exists very low, close to the ground, that doesn't exist at 30,000 feet. And that's what Airmap is solving.
Ben, you have a background as a flight instructor and a safety engineer for planes, a pilot. Do you think drones will be safe, just generally?
Absolutely. I mean, drones already have a far better safety record than manned aircraft. You know, there's, as I was saying before, you know, more than 50,000 flights per day, more flights today than there are manned aircraft flights, and you never hear about a fatality with a drone, right? But just about every day of the week, there's a fatality with a general aviation aircraft.
I wanted to point out that the FAA said yesterday that if a drone hits you on the head, you have a 0.3% chance of getting a concussion, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, the chances of it hitting you on the head are pretty low anyway, but even if it does, assuming it hits you the bottom part first. But let me throw this out to the whole group. What are the uses for drones that we're going to see in the near future? How are we going to commercialize this? Because certainly with electric cars, which I write about a lot for Car Talk and others, there's a lot of test programs, there's a lot of pilots, and it took a long time to get to the point where we were really putting them on the road as commercial projects. And I think Hide, what you're doing in Japan with a delivery, that points the way towards a commercial product. So let's start with you. Do you see that becoming commercial pretty soon, the delivery from drones?
So of course, the currently inspection or aerial photography, these are already in place. But drone delivery takes a bit more time because we need to clear the regulation issue. So government needs to allow fly drone over the human. That's not allowed now. So we need to talk with the government to allow them. And also we need to have public acceptance. So people are still a bit scared of drones flying over their home or their kids. So that kind of public acceptance we need to change. And also we need to have better technology. So currently all drones are from hobby field. So we need to have better technology from industry, like airplane maker or automotive maker. So that kind of level of safety and technology needs to be in place.
Okay. Rodin, what do you think about the timetable for commercializing drones, including what you're doing with it?
Well, I think, so your original question was, what are the uses that we're going to see? And I think what's interesting is to look at where can drones provide an improvement in efficiency. A lot of the focus today is on time-sensitive delivery, delivery or travel, right? And
including the last mile, right?
Including last mile. And for us, the focus is on transporting people, and people put a lot of value on their time. A lot of people put a lot of value on their time, and they spend a lot of their time very slowly moving about 30 miles, 40 miles. And I think that is a perfect market opportunity if I've seen one, right? There's a pain point, there's a willingness to pay, there's a massive market, so even a small portion of that market would be a very viable proposition. And so for us, the focus is that gap between commercial drones and small cargo drones and commercial manned flight. So medium range.
If you had to put a year on it and say the point where drones go from being a cool novelty that everyone thinks are great to something that we all take for granted. You see a drone, you don't have to necessarily say, oh wow, look at that. You just say, oh, there goes a drone.
I appreciate you're trying to put me on the spot, but I think the timelines are going to be very different for different business models and for different types of airspace and for different types of drone and mission.
Okay.
And it will depend a lot on the regulations.
Let's ask Ben this. In terms of, if you look at self-driving cars, I think people don't actually realize this, but self-driving cars are going to be held back significantly by regulation and legal issues and safety issues. Is that also true of drones? I mean, if they hit you on the head, they're not going to do much to you. So how much are regulations and regulating the airspace, how much is that going to slow this down?
Yeah, so big drones that hit you on the head will hurt. The FAA information that you quote is for a relatively small drone, right? 2 kilograms. But yeah, I mean, a big drone that hits you on the head is going to kill you, right? If it hits you hard enough. And certainly, if you're sitting on board, a vehicle that's going to have an accident, you can get hurt too. So safety is obviously first and foremost most important thing. The regulators, the traditional aviation regulators, are already managing a very safe airspace, right? We take air travel for granted. I'm going to get on an airplane tonight and fly back to LA, and I'm damn sure that I'm going to land safely in LA. And right, the regulators don't want to upset that existing ecosystem that is so safe. So the tendency is to not innovate in regulation, because if you've already got a safe system, why should you change it? So we need to be persuasive to society at large that there's a lot of benefit to be redeemed by this technology. And then society goes to the lawmakers and regulators and says, hey, please let us take advantage of this activity, this technology. And I think that we're making great progress. Just in the last year, you see major brands like Airbus, for example, Rakuten, airlines around the world. Lufthansa has a whole drone department now, right? So this is becoming increasingly accepted. And I actually think that we have an opportunity to leapfrog self-driving cars at the surface with airborne mobility, because it is relatively virgin territory. We don't have to train the vehicles to learn how human drivers drive, right? Which is a big thing that's holding back self-driving cars. We don't need to train the vehicles to avoid a baby buggy or somebody crossing the street. So I think we have an opportunity to actually move a bit faster than self-driving cars.
But Jim, I would like to challenge this perspective that innovation is always held back by regulation. If you look at regulations for airspace in recent years, like the Part 23 rewrite, I think is just a massive accomplishment for everyone, and it benefits everyone, and it's actually an example of regulators anticipating and enabling what they see coming in a very proactive way, and they wrote it in a way that's very different from the prescriptive regulations that worked for us for decades, because they see that you need something that's flexible, adaptable, that allows innovation to really occur without compromising on the safety that everyone counts on, because Ben's right. You know, we're going to get on planes and we're going to fly home, and we will not worry about it. We just won't, and we shouldn't. And that is key. I don't know how we got to be okay with the accident rate with cars, but we know how to do safe air transportation, and we should not sacrifice that and the standards that we've established in order to do it.
Just quickly, we have 3 minutes left. Do you think that your method of mobility, where people fly single, almost like pods, automated pods, could that replace some of these planes that are going to take us all home from this conference?
I mean, again, it's a complementary set of missions. So what we're interested in, where a lot of the customers are in urban areas, and they're commuting maybe to the airport or to work, and they're going about 40, 50 miles, which is not a mission that any large commercial aircraft would address, or even a Cessna would not really target that. The overhead is just too high, and they...
Would you use it for commuting as an example?
I hope so. I would like to.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Hide, your company, what is delivery pretty much what you're targeting, or are you looking at other areas also?
So, but primary target is delivery. So we are now in the process of developing drone acceptable condominium. So this, 50 floors condominium will have drone port. So drone can land, and from the drone, unmanned ground vehicle will carry parcel to each door. So this kind of really autonomous, very quick last 1 mile delivery will be happening. And that's our primary focus.
And then you can convert that to a vertiport where you can land the pods. So you can just go to work from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the way people live in apartments or houses or in suburbia actually affects how delivery will work for these things. We have to think about it. Like, for instance, electric vehicle charging in China is rather problematic because they don't live in single-family suburban houses. They live in apartment houses. So you have to figure out how that could work for that population. It's pretty different. So just very quickly, say something cool you've never said to anybody else.
Me first? I love you guys. I've never met you before.
I really dislike licorice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't admit to that.
Well, it's supposed to be about drone. Okay, we're going to have flying cars. How about that? Let's use that. We have 36 seconds.
Oh, we're definitely going to have flying cars. But I've said that before.
Okay.
I mean, that's my...
Ben, flying cars?
Absolutely. That's why I started Airmap, because I do want to fly to work. I hate driving.
Nice. High five.
Hide, flying cars, yes?
Yeah, I want.
Toyota flying cars, Honda flying, Mazda flying cars.
Yeah, so
the Mazda
Japan.
Miata flying car.
Right. So Japan is good at automotive, so we hope we can collaborate and to make this flying car thing happen.
I'll give you my card after this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about out of time. Hide, Ben, Marcus, and Rodin, thank you very much. This is a great panel.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.